We're going to get controversial today. Bacon. We're making bacon, and it may just get ugly before we're through. But before we get into our recipe, let's go back a little and talk about our lovely little culinary treat and why it's so important. See, bacon has been around for a long time. 7,000 BC was about when we see it, but most likely it wasn't what we know as bacon today. See, bacon actually referred to all pork. It came from, and forgive the butchering of the terms, but bacon, I guess from the French, bacon, which is German. I'm not sure why the German accent has to, bacon. Anyway, or the old Teutonic bacon, bec, which means the back of a hog. Now, in the 1500s, Europeans, peasants, couldn't afford to buy pork. So it was a certain level of affluence when you were bringing home the bacon. And if you had friends come over, you would cut off a little piece and you would sit around and you would chew the fat. That's actually where those terms actually come from. Nowadays, bacon is actually specifically referring to cured, salted pork belly. Unless you're talking about Canadian bacon, which is typically referred to pork loin, but that's a whole different video. So why is there so much controversy and mystery surrounding bacon? Mainly botulism. Now, I'm not talking about the Botox version of botulism. I'm talking about the fatal disease, nerve damaging, scary stuff. It was first recorded in 1735 and suspected that it came from sausage. The name botulism actually comes from a Latin term that means sausage. Yeah, I won't even butcher that one. See, this nasty little protein is so deadly that 1/1,000,000th of 1 gram is enough to kill a human being. And as little as 1 pint is enough to wipe out the entire population of the entire world. But we're talking about bacon. What does that have to do with botulism? Well, botulism is more prevalent in birds or waterfowl and cows. However, when we are curing meat, we are creating the perfect environment in which botulism comes around. See, we take meat, we wet it in order to brine it with flavor. We keep it at a temperature that is the perfect temperature, which is above freezing and below the sterilization level. And we choke it out with almost no oxygenation, whether it be in the water or in a smoker. Now, botulism was thought to have come originally from sausage because you put it in a casing and shut off the oxygenation of the meat, which is the perfect environment, and you left it in that perfect temperature for a long period of time. Fortunately, there are only about 110 cases in the United States per year, which may seem low unless you have botulism. The good news is that if it is caught early, doctors today can actually treat it and recover. The bad news is that 90% of those cases come from doing exactly what we're doing today, which is curing meat. So now let's move into the controversy. There are basically 2 ways to cure meat that I'm aware of. One is salting, and the other is, I'll get to that in a second. See, the Egyptians were actually curing meat and they were mining salt, and they found, well, actually they didn't find, they were unaware of, maybe is a better term of putting it, a little impurity in the salt that they were mining. And it was high levels of potassium nitrate. Saltpeter, you may actually know of it as. Now, the beauty of this was the fact that they were able to cure their meat with less salt than what was actually required if it didn't have this impurity. Now, we have different ways of creating nitrites in our meat. But what is the controversy? Well, the problem is that you can cure bacon with salt alone. However, in my humble opinion, it becomes too salty, almost to the point of inedible. So we can use sodium nitrite, and that actually aids in the curing process. The problem becomes that there were some studies that was done that believed that nitrate actually creates things in our body that causes cancer. So there was a big backlash against putting anything artificial nitrites into meat and foods. Now, this is just my opinion. I'm not a doctor, but this is just based upon my research. Lots and lots of research. But nitrates actually occur naturally in your body. In fact, it's in a lot of the foods that we eat as well. In fact, there was a study that was actually done where nitrites were believed to lower blood pressure and enhance exercise. I don't think bacon was what they were using, like beets or something much less exciting. So some people might not want to use nitrates in curing their bacon. However, I'll tell you right now, in my recipe today, I will be. And here's the reason why. Botulism is scary. I don't eat a lot of bacon, sadly, maybe more than some, but, well, maybe more than a vegan. But anyway, I would rather have my food safe and serve safe food than risk the chance of giving somebody a deadly disease. So let's get into the recipe.
Start off with fresh pork bellies from the butcher. Costco sometimes has these things, but you're going to want to take them out, keep them on ice, don't ever freeze them, and trim up anything that you can. Just kind of clean up any excess fat that you have. You're going to want to take measurements of the pork bellies. Now, obviously, we're doing 2 pork bellies, so we want to make for sure the thickness of them, because that's going to apply to the length of time and the amount as far as the weight. Now, you can put these in Ziploc bags. Actually, a vacuum seal works as well. I think it's got a marinade function, but I'm going to refer you over to AmazingRibs.com. He has a great recipe, and you're going to plug in your weight and your thickness, and it's going to tell you exactly the ratio of a very simple recipe. It's just distilled water, brown sugar, sea salt. Do not use table salt. A little black pepper, some Prague salt. I think he's got some other recipes. I haven't actually tried it. I like just a plain one, but that way you can mark down exactly how much time you need for each section of it. You're going to pour this into the bag, and it's going to cure the bacon over this set amount of time.
All right, so it's been a day that the bacon has been in the brine, and it's time to flip. So let's get the pork bellies out of the fridge. Now, you're wanting to do this about once a day, and all you're trying to do is you're trying to get the liquid redistributed. I'm going to take these, I'm going to flip them over, just kind of shake them up a little bit, and then however they were, I'm going to put them in just the opposite. You want to do this at least every day. If you get really excited, I guess you can do it 3-4 times a day. You just want to make for sure that they don't dry out inside the bags. Simple as that. Back of the fridge until our time is done and we're ready to smoke, which is going to be the next step. So stick tuned. All right, so we have been brining, curing for the set amount of time, and we're about to go to the next phase. So that is good. You want to make for sure that you do a really good rinse. You want to discard the curing liquid. You do not want to reuse this. But I want to show you, in fact, I'll show it to you on this one. See how red that is? See how beautiful that is? That's actually the cure working. And I can tell you that this is actually a lot firmer as well. So all we're trying to do is we're trying to wash off that excess salt. Now Sir Smokes a Lot is already heated up. to 225, and we're gonna get these on the smokers here real quick. So let me go ahead and rinse these off, and we'll move on to the next phase. Goodness, look at that bacon. Woo, that looks good. So we notice that it is all right, so the smoking is done and this has to chill. Now I would recommend you slice off a little piece on the end and actually go ahead and cook that up now. You're gonna be able to get a little sample to make for sure that everything is right. So we're gonna go ahead now. Be advised that this is going to probably be the strongest of the flavors. In the end. Okay, the rest of this is going to go in the fridge because it's got to chill before we can slice it all up. But man, that is pretty. All right, so you definitely want to fry this up. I did cut that a little thick, but you want to sample it just to make sure this got a good flavor. But you notice just the nice coloring a little bit in there. And we'll come back and we'll do a taste test here real quick. So you'll notice the bacon-like color. That's because of the Prague Salt. If we had not used Prague Salt 1, it would look more like a pork chop, and actually it would be almost kind of gray. So the Prague Salt does more than just protect you from botulism. But I think this is almost done. We're going to pull this off here in a second and give it a sample. All right, so it is cooked. I'm just going to slice off just a couple pieces here. Like I said, this is going to have the most intense flavor. It's still really hot. I probably should actually let it cool a little bit. Oh yeah, that'll work. Hint of saltiness, sweet, it's bacon. So the last step, talking with my mouth full. Last step is actually just cooling it. It's already in the fridge. We'll pull it out, we'll slice it, we'll bag it, stick it in the freezer for future. But you know how to do all that stuff. So if you enjoyed this, give us a like, subscribe, put a comment below if you add anything else to your recipe. And thanks for joining us. See you.